There are simple things I could be doing to make my coloring life so much easier. And today I'm going to expose my bad habits to you, and I'm curious to see if any of these are your bad habits too. So meet me on the other side and let's get started. Here we go. So habit number one that I could be doing that would make my coloring life much easier, but for some reason I don't, is sharpening my pencils before I store them back in the case. So some of these are sharp, but the pencils you can see here where I've used them frequently or even recently are kind of flat or dull, especially like on these blues over here, these greens. This guy I just used the heck out of. It's kind of a dull tip. I think about it and I think, wow, if I actually thought ahead and could be more organized and keep these sharp, then I would save myself a lot of time when I'm ready to hop into a page and start coloring. I know that sometimes we get so excited and we're ready to color, and then I pull this pencil out and it's dull. I've got to sharpen it. And then, same thing over here. So I guess it's kind of like the only comparison I could make is if you back into your car space at a parking lot when you arrive somewhere. So when you leave, you can just pull your car out. So that is my husband. Me, I pull into the space and then I back out when I leave. In my mind, maybe it's the same amount of time that you spend. He would argue that it saves time and it's quicker to back into the space. So maybe this is the same thing. Maybe sharpening your pencils before or after, maybe it's the same thing. But I think about it sometimes and I think, gosh, if I actually sharpened a pencil before I put it back in here, maybe it would make my life a little bit easier. So that's habit number one. I'll be right back with habit number two. Coloring tip number two, I'm going off camera here a little bit, or off the stand, is keeping a tidy crafting space. So you can see here that this is typically what my desk looks like. I usually have something I'm working on here, and then over here I'll usually have some of my swatching books, my headphones, pencils. I keep pencils in the jar for projects that, like for the reverse color along. Here's the cheat sheet here, but I'm leaving the pencils in here for when I roll the video. Markers in here for pages I've started but haven't completed. And Mr. George. And then my, this is my little swatch book with all my different, can't do this one-handed, swatch things for different color brands. But if I step back and look at this, and I'm embarrassed to share this, but I'm being real with y'all. This is what this looks like on a normal day. And when this is tidy and neat, it feels so much better, and it's so much more relaxing to color than the stress of all these things being out at one time. Now, there's also a convenience of having all these things out at one time, so I'm not constantly getting up and walking to my supplies closet to get these things. But there you go. So keeping a tidy space will make that a lot better. So I'm going to clean it up real quick and I'll be right back. And here it is. It's not perfect, but it's infinitely better. And I'm just going to say, because that will be so much more relaxing to work on that little birdie page without the distraction of all that junk on my desk. And that's habit number two. I'll be right back with habit number three. Habit number three would be putting my phone down while I'm coloring so I don't get distracted. So I might be coloring, and then all of a sudden I might hear the wind outside and I'll think, oh, I wonder what the weather's going to be today. I'll put down my coloring stuff and I'll pick up my phone and I'll go to my weather app. And then I'll notice I've got some notifications on Instagram. So now I'm on Instagram, and then I just start doing this and I just keep going. And maybe y'all know I have a Shih Tzu. So sometimes I see the dog reels pop up, and then I might go down a hole watching dog reels. And it just, oh, look how cute that dog is. And it just keeps going and going. And next thing I know, I've spent 30 to 45 minutes just doing this. And I realized, wait a minute, I'm not coloring. Ooh, that's so pretty. So for me, I know that's how I'm wired. And I'm easily distracted, especially with a phone in my hand. You can ask my husband, Mr. George will tell you it is not good. So that would be another habit that I could do. If I actually put my phone down or moved it away from me, that would help me probably concentrate on my coloring and enjoy it more, and maybe even do better at it because I'm more focused on it. How about you? Does that one get you too? Let's hop into habit number 4. For those of you that have been watching my channel for a while, you know that I color in just like 1, 2, or 3 layers. I'm very impatient, and I tend to just put down 1 or 2 layers, and then I start burnishing right away. And I think my life would be so much easier if maybe I actually learned to put down light layers and build up color gradually, the way that I think most pencils were intended to be used. And I think that that would offer me a couple of different things. I think I would probably get more of a Zen kind of relaxation effect going on by doing it that way versus rushing in and just trying to get it done. I think that there's a few phases of coloring. I think the first coloring phase is being excited to start a new page, and then you get going on it, and then you hit what I call the ugly phase. And then once you get into the ugly phase, you have to kind of pull through that, and then it starts looking better. But then at that point, impatience, at least for me, sets in, and I'm just ready to be done with it. And then it gets a little monotonous, so I just start speeding through the end of it. But maybe every once in a while, if I just started laying down color, just kind of softly, gently, methodically, it might be more enjoyable, and it might be a better habit. I might learn something new and refine my style a little bit instead of just jumping in and finishing and just hauling through it. So that is habit number 4, layering instead of pressing hard. By the way, this is a cute little book I just picked up, Creative Haven Daydreams. I've never had a Creative Haven book before. Layering instead of pressing hard. That's number 4. Let's get into number 5. Habit number 5 would be using a white sheet of paper or any sheet of paper under my hand as I color. So what happens is, especially if you have pencils that get kind of crumbly, and you try to get the crumbles off the page, but sometimes your hand, even laying your hand down on top of the pencil pigment that you've already colored, it will pick up on your hand, and that can transfer. Or like as I'm turning my page and I put my hand here, I might get some residual pigment from the pencil that's on my hand here. So coloring like this, putting my hand on a piece of paper, helps me prevent that. And it also helps me prevent my hand from picking up some of those dust crumbles that I can't see and transferring them over here. So this is one of the best tips I can offer people that use colored pencils, especially if you like to burnish like I do, and you're really hard on your pencils and you're creating that pencil dust and those crumbles. I just don't ever do it. And then I find myself coming back in and using a power eraser because I'll see like some aqua out here or little bits of, like here's some aqua right here. I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but I could already see some right there. So that is a wonderful tip. Again, I don't know why I don't do that more. I should, and I know I should, but I think I just get in such a hurry. And by the way, this is from, it's a new page I'm working on. Oh my goodness. Susan Carlson's book called Birdy, Fanciful Bird Coloring Book. It's got super cute pages in here. So there you go. Okay, that's tip number 5. I'll be right back with tip number 6. Habit number 6. Do I keep calling them tips in my other segments? Okay, habits. Habit number 6 that could make my coloring life much more enjoyable and easier, but I won't ever do this one for sure. And that is actually finishing a page before starting a new one. So here, this is a work in progress I've had going on that I've just been playing with slowly. And then this is the Daydreams book I just showed y'all, and I've been coloring on it a little bit. But look, back here, here's another page in this book I've started, and this is with the Ohuhu Maui water-based markers. So I put that down, excuse me, started this page. So, and I would say that this is a very personal preference on how you like to color, and there's nothing wrong with accumulating a stack of whips, right? Because that there's a reason you're putting the page down and starting another one. And if the excitement and enjoyment of starting a new page is what keeps you happy and keeps you relaxed, then you just keep doing that. That's what you should do. For me, I just get kind of distracted and I'll think, ooh, I need to start this page. Or maybe it's even something like, oh, I want to start this Hannah page so I can do a reverse color along. So I'll have a page that I'm coloring like this, personally just for me, but then I might start another page for one of my color alongs, or I might start a mandala page to show on my social media channels for my books, things like that. So I always have a lot of irons in the fire. Sometimes that stresses me out, having to start and stop like that. But again, I think it's very personal, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with having lots of whips in your coloring supplies, coloring books. And I say just do what feels right and makes you happy and doesn't stress you out. That's what you should do. So I know for me, I will always have a lot of whips. So this habit will not apply to me, but maybe it applies to others. So I'm sharing it just the same for y'all. So with that, I will be back with coloring tip number 7. Coloring tip, I keep saying tip. It's not a tip, it's a habit. Habit number 7 that could make my coloring life a lot easier, but I probably won't ever do this. I need to be better at this one for sure. And that is cleaning my pencils before I move on to another color to avoid smudges. So the white pencil is my biggest offender. I don't know if this is in focus or not. I've got some orange and some turquoise on here. And that's from this page where I'm coloring to blend these two together. And if I did something as simple as take, maybe the white piece of paper I'm resting my hand on, and just kind of turned my pencil and colored with it a little bit, I could get that extra color off. And sometimes just running it through my pencil sharpener will do the same. But I get really bad at this, and I especially find it, of course, on the lighter colors that will pick up other colors as you blend with the colors. So I tend to blend with my white pencil, not a blender pencil. I know that should be another habit, but I won't even get into that one. I don't like using blender pencils. It's just not my thing. So I like to blend with light colors in my work. So if I actually did this, I'd probably spare myself a little bit of heartache, because sometimes I'll just pick it up and move on to the next space. And maybe I'm blending, maybe I went from blending something black to raspberry and used the white at the top to blend it all together to make it a really cool gradient. And then I moved over here to something with sky blue. If I don't have that pencil clean, I'm going to have a big streak of pink in that blue, which I do that a lot. Y'all don't see it. And that, again, is where my electric eraser will save me most of the time, not always. Sometimes there's no turning back, and that's an opportunity to color a darker color over that mistake. So that is number 7, just kind of keeping up with making sure that there's no residual color on that pencil before I move on to the next place I want to use it. And again, that is habit number 7. Let's move on to habit number 8. All right, the last habit I'm going to share today here is number 8, which is keeping a sharp tip or rotating my pencil as I use it. So you can see here, I've been playing with the blending and soft layering on this page, just having fun with it. But I don't know if you could see, let me turn my pencils here. I've got a definite flat edge on those. And it's easier because I get that flat edge and then it just kind of blends smoothly for me. And maybe in that case it's okay, but eventually that flat edge is going to be like an angle like this. And if you kind of rotate your pencil as you color, you'll avoid that. And now I've got like this super sharp edge on this side. But the goal is to avoid a super blunt edge, which I will do sometimes, especially if I'm coloring, let's say, a big space back here. And I've fallen prey to the appeal of a colored pencil background, which is always a rabbit hole. And once I started, I always regret it because of how long it takes. Then I just kind of get into pressing and coloring. And now I've got this, it almost looks like a crayon tip by the time I'm done. So if I were to rotate my pencils as I color gently and methodically, I could avoid that. But again, I think that's a personal preference. These are just habits for me that I think could make my life easier. And there's that. So rotating your pencils to keep a sharp tip as you color. That's number 8. I'll be right back and we'll do a little recap. Here's a quick recap of the habits we talked about. And again, these are habits for me, Kim, that if I started practicing these, I know that for me, they would probably make my coloring experience more enjoyable. These might not apply to everybody. They might not apply to anybody, but I just wanted to come here today to share them with you. So number 1, sharpening my pencils before I put them away. 2, keeping a tidy desk space. 3, putting my phone down. I think this is the worst one for me, so I'm not distracted. 4, layering instead of pressing hard on my pencil blending. 5, using a sheet of white paper under my hand as I color. 6, actually finishing a page before starting a new one. We'll call that one optional. 7, cleaning my pencils to avoid smudges on my page. And number 8, keeping a sharp tip or rotating the pencil. I'd love to hear if any of these habits apply to you and if you struggle with any of these as well. So drop me a comment and let me know. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video today. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.